I gotta tell you guys, every single day, Capital Games is posting a couple things, and they post them like right when I get in the car to drive home. And I've got an hour-long commute home from my office, and it is the longest hour sitting in my car going, gotta make my video. Big news coming down the pipeline on two fronts. Now, obviously, the Separatist news is huge right now. We've got two reworks coming down the pipeline. Grievous is getting rework 2.0, my friends, and Magna Guard is also getting a rework. These definitely seem to be addressing some big fundamental issues that these teams had, really kind of taking them next level. I'm really not buying the reason that Capital Games is giving for them waiting on adding these changes, and we'll get into that in a bit. But what I want to start with is this post right here from Lucifer's daddy, who is, by the way, if anyone has ever reported a cheater, if anyone's ever found anyone anywhere who's cheating, manipulating the game code, this is the guy who comes and gives them the ban hammer. And so he is actually making a post here about how they're going to really crack down on cheating. So if anyone's about risking that kind of thing, most people would have no idea how to cheat. And if you don't, good. If you want to find out, don't. This isn't 1990. We're not going to do up, up, down, down, right, right so that we can get better results. This is a competitive environment, an economy, and you will lose your account. Anyway, suffice it to say, it seems like some people have maybe subverted this and gotten away with it. That's going to be really cracked down on here. And so check this out. In preparation for Grand Arena Championships, we are intensifying our efforts to root out and prevent cheating in competitive play. So here's what they're going to do. They're going to increase surveillance of leaderboard and battle data. And so especially those of you ending up on the leaderboards, make sure you're clean. No juicing. No steroids. I'm looking at you, Barry Bonds. A zero tolerance policy for those identified as cheaters. And so I've seen before people get caught in one facet or another and they get like a, temporary ban. The default action for this will be a perma ban. You do not want to lose your account for good, ladies and gentlemen. Don't be that guy. And then a new suite of data points and detection tools. And then he says here, while we still put player reports to good use, send suspect activity to CG Leviathan, we are excited about some new options at our disposal. I see them talking like Mr. Burns. We are excited about some new options at our disposal for finding legitimate battles or illegitimate battles. And then this is another one I'm actually pretty stoked about. They're actually adding additional team member hours so that they can prioritize this issue more. CG, I got to give you props for this. I think this is an issue that definitely has needed to be addressed, and seeing that you're obviously investing in the integrity of this game mode in more than just words, but adding hours, adding tools, etc. I think this is a very, very positive thing. They go on, we are focused on creating a fair and fun environment for competitive play, and wherever possible, we will attempt to rectify any impacted players who report and are found to be affected by cheating so they can continue to enjoy themselves and achieve their best results. And so I just want to know, CG, does that apply to, those of us who are affected by the cheating of the RNG giving us like no Zetas during double drops? I'll wait. Where possible, we will focus on rewarding players confirmed to have been impacted by cheaters with the championship score they were deprived of by cheaters, and or the resources/rewards they missed out on. So they're going to make it right. Very good post. All right, let's get to the fun stuff. You guys, I'm sure you've already seen this post, but I just want to give kind of my impressions of this, and I'm going to call it a little BS again. Yeah, I called BS a little while back, but they're talking here about how, as you could probably imagine, we weren't able to talk about this at the time, but we knew Gear 13 was incoming in the near future. We wanted to ensure that Grievous and the Separatist droids didn't become an utterly overwhelming force when Gear 13 came to the game. Now, I respect that. I think that's great, especially because General Grievous, he relies so heavily on scaling health, and so when you up those health stats, it makes sense that he could, if they don't balance him right, we could have some pretty significant power issues with the balance there. However, all of the changes they're saying here that they're making, none of them have to do with that. And so I think this is, they're saying it's because of Gear 13, and I could respect that if it had to do with Gear 13, but none of this has to do with Gear 13. So I think that they just didn't want Jedi Revan to be subverted by General Grievous. I think that's really what it comes down to. They did not want Grievous to come in and piss off all the Revan owners. That said, I can kind of respect that to a degree, but I also feel like the biggest problem in this game is, and has been for quite a while, the absence of a rock, paper, scissors meta. The last time we had a rock, paper, scissors meta, a true rock, paper, scissors meta, which we don't have and we haven't had since the introduction of Revan at a minimum, Jedi Revan, the game was just so much more engaging and so much more exciting. Now, I think for those of us who are super committed endgame players, we're kind of seeing a transition of excitement from Squad Arena to Grand Arena and Territory Wars, etc. But something that I realize as I interact with you guys in the comments, while that's really engaging and exciting for me, I'm super motivated and excited by Grand Arena right now. It's not necessarily something that the average common man is as excited about, because Grand Arena is a game mode where you can get quickly discouraged. You have to have so much more ready, and if you don't have the right amount of teams, you don't have the right amount of focus, you haven't spent the right amount of money, or however you want to chalk it up, it can be an extremely discouraging game mode. And so I'm not sure if it's passable to have a boring meta like we've got right now and that we've had for almost a year now. And so I hope this gets addressed, but anyway, I kind of got on a tangent there, but it's also something that I hope improves with Grand Arena Championships is, you know, when you've got the leagues, if people can, you know, you're going to have two filterings going on. For the really competitive players, you'll have the boring matchups filtered out because you're going to be filtered up to people who are as competitive as you. And for those of you who, you know, are getting smashed, those people who are smashing you, they're going to get filtered out of your league, and you'll be able to compete with people more at your level of competition. And so I hope that will help adjust things, but I also don't think that should excuse that we need to have a true rock, paper, scissors meta at some point. All right, I'm going to step off my soapbox now. Let's read some of these changes coming, and I'll talk about where I think this is going to be good, what it addresses, and why I don't think it has anything to do with Gear 13. So, Grievous Wounds, this is going to no longer be evaded. So this is the changes are in green, and that's the deal physical damage to all. This is AoE and inflict a target lock for 2 turns. Remove 30% turn meter. This attack no longer can be evaded. This affects all ability tiers. And then Daunting Presence. This is very good as well. Very solid. This is the one. This is unique that has all enemies have minus 40% critical avoidance, minus 50% defense. Blah 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 blah. And then this little line they slipped in here. Target locked enemies can't counter attack. Okay, so there's a lot of target lock going out there, and all those counter attacks can be huge. And so that's huge against a lot of things. That's huge for CLS teams. That's huge for Revan teams. That's huge for Padme teams. Those counter attacks are a big detriment to these General Grievous teams. And so having that removed for all the target locked enemies, very solid. This is going to improve Grievous a lot, but nothing improves this team more than the Magna Guard buff that he's getting. And this is very simply going to add all other Separatist droid allies stealth for 1 turn at the start of each encounter if General Grievous is an ally. This just did 2 things, ladies and gentlemen. Number 1, this just made Magna Guard an absolute essential must for General Grievous teams. He was kind of optional before. In fact, he kind of looked like a hindrance. In a lot of ways, there was a lot there that would have been so good, but he just didn't taunt enough, and most people were just using their Jedi Revan and forcing a direct focus on General Grievous, and it didn't really matter, But now with the stealth, it is forcing that taunt even for enemies who can ignore taunt. That's going to affect CLS. That's going to affect Jedi Knight Revan. It's going to affect everything. And to me, this is significantly buffing this Separatist team. I think this takes the Separatists from a probably 4th or 5th ranked team for Grand Arena or so for defense to maybe two or three, pretty high on the list of priorities, or at a minimum as an offensive team. Great. This is going to make countering Jedi Knight Revan teams a lot more reliable, and probably a slew of others. I personally would really like to use these guys on defense, just because I think it's just a team you don't see very much, and so it can really catch people off guard. But from an offensive perspective, could be really solid for Jedi Revan teams if you're seeing those, and I'm sure a few others. So I'm happy about these changes. I don't really understand why CG is telling us that this has to do with Gear 13, because I still somebody help me understand how any of these changes in green have to do with Gear 13 coming to the game. I don't see how that has anything to do with the subject. But that said, I still think it's a very positive change coming to the game. All of you who invested in these Grievous teams, I think you're going to be pretty happy about this. And so, good stuff. Cracking down on cheaters. We got some changes coming. Lots more coming down the pipeline, I'm sure, as we get ready for Grand Arena Championships and Geonosis territory battles. Let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments below. And tell me in the comments, reply with what is the #1 thing you want to see out of Grand Arena Championships. What are you the most excited about, or what are you the least excited about? Let me know down in the comments below. And if you did enjoy the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. And as always, my brothers, don't forget
my dead body. Sorry about the mess.